What's up, everybody? This is Peter Schrager from Good Morning Football and The Season with Peter Schrager. And guess what? It's football season. And you can now get almost anything you need for game day delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, can't get a running back delivered, but you can get baby back ribs delivered. Strong defense? Like, no. But a strong deodorant? Yes. A six-pack of abs? That's absolutely not. No. But a six-pack of beer? Uber Eats can get you that. There you have it. Get almost anything for game day delivered with Uber Eats. It's the official on-demand delivery partner for the NFL. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See that app for details.
You go into your shower feeling, but as soon as you reach for the Irish Spring, your day immediately gets better. That crisp, fresh, unmistakable Irish Spring scent zings your brain and awakens your senses. So when you finally emerge from the shower, 37 minutes later, because you pay the water bill so you can stay in there as long as you want, you're ready to take on the day and smell great doing it. Irish Spring Body Wash and Bar Soap. Fresh, green, Irish. Shop now at Walmart.
It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant Pride.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs, have some fun.
Happy Victory Monday, everybody, and welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. I am John Schmeelk. He is Paul Dottino, and that there was a football game, folks. Probably, given the opponent, one of the best games I've seen the Giants play in a couple of years, going back to that Vikings playoff game, I'd probably say.
It reminded me of 2022, the more I thought about it this morning.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll be honest. I think the offense right now is operating better than it was even in 2022 because they're doing it in a different way. They're not relying so much on the quarterback run game. We don't have to get into that part of it now. Let's talk about the game. Paul, a complete game here. Complimentary football. Offense did its part. Defense did its part. Special teams with the big play at the end of the game. Just every facet of the team contributing to this win. It wasn't perfect, obviously. We'll get into some of that. But overall, just a very complete victory for the Giants over a good Seattle Seahawks team, where the Giants just played a really good, clean game of football.
Yeah, I think that they're very unified, John. And that's one of the things that I noticed over the course of these last couple of weeks. Even though they had frittered a couple of games away and they were 1-3 instead of 3-1, I never saw a fracture in this team, either at practice or even after the losses. And they were very, very unified yesterday. They believed in themselves. They had a great week of practice last week. And they go out there and, of course, get a 7-0 touchdown handed to them off of the fumble, the great fumble on the goal line. And, because of that house of horrors that Seattle has been for them, could anybody blame them if they blinked? I'm sure that everybody back in New York was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Oh, of course. It was here we go again. And, Paul, even at halftime, I'll go back. You guys go find the archive of the game on Sirius. Jonathan Casillas is sitting there. We're like, it's 10-10.
And they dominated.
The Giants had absolutely dominated the first half of play.
Totally.
For the folks that didn't quite notice exactly how dominant they were, I'll just give you a couple numbers. Giants outgained the Seahawks 225-90 in yardage, 15 first downs to 5, and time of possession 22 minutes to 8 in the first half.
Was it 2 rushing yards?
Yes, 2 rushing yards for Kenneth Walker III.
Yeah.
Yet it's 10-10. Basically, we said we didn't say this at halftime, but once we went to break at halftime, I looked at Casillas, I go, this has like 2-score loss written all over it because they dominated the first half. They should have been up at least 2 touchdowns. Instead, it's a tie game. And you could just, the way the NFL works, you can kind of see that coming. And it's not the Giants, it's any NFL team. If you have a big lead, if you dominate the half, but it's a tie game,
right,
you don't feel great about how that second half is going to go, right? But to the Giants' credit, their defense made some key stops. They had the key takeaway on the Deonte Banks strip. The Giants had that really nice drive in the third quarter with those 2 big plays to march down and score a touchdown in just 4 plays, those 2 deep passes to Slayton. And they bounced back from some negative plays throughout the game in order to hold on to the win.
I'm going to go back to something we talked about the other day, and you'll remember this very, very well. Folks, I was screaming and almost turning red in the face about guys got to make some plays above the X's and the O's. Well, guys did that yesterday. They had some things go wrong. They had the fumble. They had 4 drops. They had some a couple of oddball officiating calls once again. And yet, they had some guys make plays above the X's and the O's. They had the Banks forced fumble, which was a very, very big play because remember now, it's a tie game to start the third quarter. Giants don't do anything. In fact, they have a Wan'Dale Robinson drop on third down. Tell me that wasn't a bad omen.
Oh, yeah, of course it was. And then in the first play of that Seahawk drive, Tyler Lockett in the cover 2 hole, 33 yards. Boom, and you're like, oh, boy, here we go.
And then somebody makes a play above the X's and the O's, and Banks punches out that ball. Giants get the special teams play, of course, at the end, above the X's and the O's by Simmons and Ford Wheaton. On offense...
Well, by the way, do you want to include one of the 3 Dexter Lawrence sacks?
Might as well.
Basically picked Christian Haynes up and carried him back to the quarterback.
Goodness.
My gosh.
So
Brian Burns on the 4th and 1.
I won't tell you which of the coaches that I saw after the game, but I saw him in the celebratory locker room after the game when he was getting his stuff together, and I said, what did Dexter do to that poor guy?
I mean, you ask a rookie to try to block Dexter Lawrence one-on-one. Kid, this ain't UConn, dude. And we all like Christian Haynes coming out, by the way. We thought he was a good day 2 pick.
Yes.
But you can't ask him to block Dexter Lawrence one-on-one. It ain't going to work.
Coach, big, wide smile, right? And I said, him, one guy against Dexter all by himself with no help?
Now,
Coach just shook his head. He said, you can't win that.
You don't have to answer me. I'm going to guess that was Dre Patterson you were talking to, because when he spoke to the media late last week, Paul, he talked about it was his job along with Shane Bowens this week to get double teams off of Dexter Lawrence.
Correct.
And that was a play where
he did say that.
Did they send 6 guys on that play? I just finished going through the game. When did that sack take place, Paul? Do you remember off the top of your head?
I'm going to go back and look at it now. I don't remember. Look, folks, I'm dealing with very little here.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, so that was where Dexter destroyed Haynes and Tibbs won. They sent a couple extra guys in that play to create those one-on-one opportunities, and that's how you do that, by sending extra guys, forcing the Seahawks to block one-on-one. That's how you get those types of sacks. So 7 sacks in the game. The Giants now lead the National Football League in sacks with 22.
10 quarterback hits in the game as well.
Yes. Well, again, 7 of those 10 quarterback hits were sacks, so they have 3 additional ones. I still hate the way the NFL counts sacks as quarterback hits. It really doesn't make a lot of sense.
Very troublesome.
So on pace now, if you want to pace that out,
no,
they're probably
don't do that. You're going to jinx them.
I can't pace it out.
It's going well. Don't do it.
I can't pace it out.
Don't do it. Don't do it. No.
It's about 70.
Why would you do that?
Just saying. It's about 70.
And then on offense, I think we could very easily talk about not only some of the deep throws that were made.
Well, he finally made them. Finally connected on those.
And they were there.
Yep.
Those balls were there.
The throw to Slayton on the crosser, absolutely perfect. The one on the sideline, maybe he let him a little bit too close to the sideline, but there was a single high safety coming over. That's a really nice throw. Daniel maybe had 2 throws all game that I thought he misfired on the little fade to Slayton on the double move in the end zone on the left sideline. And there was one other throw. He grounded one in the flat to a running back. I think that might have been on purpose, though, because he saw there wasn't any room there.
I had a debate with the guy next to me on that one. I wasn't sure, but I said, I think he might have just misthrown that one.
And I think there was one other pass.
I had 3, and I can't remember the third.
Yeah, neither do I. But just very sharp, Paul. And again, we've seen this level of sharpness in the last couple of games. He just hasn't been able to connect on the big plays down the field. Those finally came in this game, and lo and behold, you're scoring touchdowns. Yeah. You're not kicking field goals anymore. Big plays score touchdowns.
And on top of that, we buried the lead a little bit here. The offensive line really blocked so well for the run. And Tyrone Tracy.
And the pass, by the way, both.
No question, but we already seen that before.
Yes, correct.
The fact that they rebounded from a horrific run-blocking game against the Cowboys, and they showed their resiliency, and Tyrone Tracy took the bull by the horns. I just said to Papa outside, if you were at training camp, and you watched training camp, and John and I were doing shows, and we were telling you, Tyrone Tracy right now looks like the second best running back on this team.
We said it on the pregame show before the game on Sunday on The Fan.
How many times
did
we come in here after a training camp practice and say, this kid looks really good?
But even as good as we thought he was, that was still pretty impressive. I got to be honest with you.
Well, I'm gonna count his performance on the whole as above the X's and the O's because he stepped up big time. And here's the thing, John, and I mentioned this to him on the post game afterwards. I don't know if you guys there, Tracy, right?
Great interview.
He not only ran inside, he ran outside. He did both.
And he said one thing he wanted to prove this year was that he could, since he's a converted wide receiver, that he could run inside zone.
Yep.
And a lot of that duo stuff. And they ran a lot of that power down. This wasn't a lot of zone plays now. This was a lot of power downhill type of stuff. And he did a good job. There was one play where they ran duo on both sides. And for fans that don't know, I shouldn't use football parlance. I apologize. Duo is when you have double team blocks. So your center and guard and your guard and tackle, depending on which way the run is being sent, will double team the two defensive tackles. And then basically your running back will pick a hole.
That's
Wherever he finds the opening, he picks a hole. And that's how the play runs. And Tyrone Tracy,
also known as a choice play.
Correct. So one play, he pressed it, and he was going to go in between the two duo blocks right in that A gap in the middle of the defense. He sucks the linebackers in. In fact, Brian Baldinger brings this up, I believe, in the Baldy's breakdown that's going to go up in a little bit. We already have it. We're trying to turn it around here and get it up.
I can't wait to see that.
Oh, he is so excited doing these plays. It was awesome. And he draws the linebackers in, then he pops it into the C gap, I guess it would be. I guess it was the B gap. It's between the tackle and the end. But he sucks in the linebackers. They lose their gaps. He pops it out into the outside gap, and that was the 27-yard run. So there were some above the X's and O's plays in the burst, the vision, the sharp
patience.
Cuts. And then there were it was, I think, on that 27-yard run, there was patience too. He just outruns a linebacker to the edge. Like, it looked like it might even have been a safety. He had an angle on him, and he just outruns him to the sideline. So, look, I don't want to get ahead of myself, and Devin Singletary is still going to be a big part of this offense. But Tyrone Tracy just earned himself 10 touches a game yesterday. That's what he did.
I told, I think it was even on the bus when I told Papa yesterday, I said, hey, you know what? I don't want to take anything away from Devin Singletary. Okay? Yes, let's be respectful. He's the starting running back.
No, and he's a good player. And he's been good this year, by the way.
And he is a good player, and he has done some really good things for this team. I'm not so sure that with those same exact plays, same exact blocks, he gets the most out of them like Tracy did, because Tracy had some extra burst and speed.
Yeah, he might not be able to get like that 27-yard run might have been a 12-yard run.
There's a second gear to Tracy because of his wide receiver abilities and skills that Singletary doesn't have.
No, I totally agree. And again, that's not saying and remember, it was pretty clear they still trusted Eric Graymore in pass protection, for example. He had him out there on third down. So you're still getting there with Tracy as a rookie, though he did have a really nice blitz pickup, picking up a guy in the B gap on the right side on one of those Daniel Jones completions. So, again, that's why I'm starting with 10 touches. Get him 10 touches a game, whether it's screens or passes or runs, start there, and then you work your way from there to see how the two guys work together. And now you feel comfortable. Look, you don't want to rush Devin Singletary back from the groin? You want to be patient with him? All right, cool. You can do that now.
Absolutely.
You feel pretty good about what Tyrone Tracy gave you. So those, to me, Paul, were the highlights from the game. We talked about the pass rush. The offensive line did great. Slayton.
I just want to shout out Theo Johnson.
I was about to say that. And the tight end's getting involved. The Giants' second leading wide receiver was Theo Johnson.
He had one big play in there, too.
He did on the little play-action pass. He got behind the linebackers. Jones threw a nice pass on the crosser. And he ended up getting a 22-yard gain, I believe, on that particular play. So, yeah, I mean, Deontay Banks, I thought, had a nice game. He knocked a couple balls away. Once or twice, he let a guy maybe get a little too much space, but I thought he probably played his best game of the year.
No question.
To me, this, again, all-around team win, Paul. I think we hit most of the stars. I want to make sure we get to as many of your calls, folks, as we can. Anything else, Paul, you want to add
I think
before we get to the calls?
I think on Banks, 3 passes defensed, the forced fumble, and I think I had him allowing 2 completions for 21 yards that were directly on his man-to-man cover.
That sounds right.
And that's dynamite.
Now, it's tough in zone. You don't know what his responsibility is and stuff like that.
But Metcalf, Lockett, And Smith and the Jigber did not ruin this game,
No,
John.
they didn't ruin the game.
They did not ruin
And
this
I'll
game.
tell you what, Paul, I felt like, again, I was in bizarro land because I watched as the Seahawks had guys open up down the field open, but Geno could not get the ball out because the pass rush got there too early. On one of the sacks, they almost ran. It was a very similar play to the play the Giants ran when they hit Slayton on the crosser, when they brought Hyatt across the field from left to right and Slayton from right to left.
Yes.
Seahawks ran a similar play, except it was in Jigba and I think it was Metcalf. They were running similar crisscross posts. And
Okay,
Jigba
I don't
probably,
remember it.
No, I mean, there wasn't a reason it was a sack.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
But what I'm saying,
That I remember.
And Jigba's about to open, he is 3 yards of separation. This is going to be a 30 to 40 yard play,
Right.
and Geno has to step up in the pocket. He can't get the ball off, and he ends up getting sacked. So the pass rush did make a difference in preventing some of those plays down the field because you're getting home. And again, complementary football. Pass rush helping the secondary.
Yeah.
So just overall, a really, really good game of football.
Again, plays above the X's and the O's by all the units. And that's, to me, the biggest thing that was missing from the 2 losses.
Your best players played well, and they made big plays.
That's it.
And that's what you need if you're going to win football games.
So now 2-3, John. And you know what? How about this? My dad asked me about this.
And just to update the standings in the division, as we all predicted, the Commanders are 4-1. We all knew that. We all knew that was going to happen.
In the
first
bizarre
place.
world of the NFL.
And I will take my L on that. No one was harder on the Commanders this offseason than I was. I did not think they were very good, to be honest with you. And Jaden Daniels, I liked him coming out. He was a top 10 player for me. He is. He's been a lot better than even I thought.
It's 2 weeks in a row now, right? He's really good.
Yeah, three weeks really. He was pretty good in the game after they faced the Giants too. So he's been very good for 3 straight weeks. The Eagles are now 2-2. They had the bye this week, and the Cowboys are 3-2. So real dogfight right now in the NFC East, as all these teams have shown that they can win some football games.
Yeah, I watched the fourth quarter of the Dallas game on the plane.
Really nice drive by Dak Prescott at the end of that game.
It was very impressive.
He had some bad turnovers earlier in that game, though. Oh, man, I'm not sure how much you saw. He had some
only the fourth quarter.
He had a sack fumble in the red zone, and then he threw an inexplicable interception also in the red zone, looking for CeeDee
the one he
Lamb.
sailed over the middle.
No,
there was a pick over the middle.
That was another pick in the second half. That was on the deep post or deep seam route.
I saw that.
No, there was a first half pick where they were playing deep zone against Lamb, and he kind of just threw it right to the defensive back. It was Chris Collinsworth literally sat there. He goes, "Guys, I don't know what Dak was thinking on that play. I don't know if it was a miscommunication or what in that Chris Collinsworth, exasperated voice." But anyway, it was a good one for Dallas in Pittsburgh.
Tolbert made a heck of a play on the touchdown because the DB was on him. The throw was right there, and when the ball came in and he caught it, the DB was able to get his hand in and tried to rip it from his elbow.
He didn't get to the ball, but he tried to rip his arm down, and
that's exactly what you want to do.
And Tolbert showed a lot of grip strength on that.
Tremendous strength to hold on to that ball, and of course, I kind of wanted to jump through the window of the plane at that point because I was really not happy.
All of us wanted Tolbert to drop the ball, obviously, but I'm just very surprised the Cowboys, without DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, were able to win that game, which is
that's one you wanted to stick an L on them.
Correct, but I believe their next 2 games are the Lions and the 49ers, so those will be 2 very tough games for them. And the Niners losing to the Cardinals. How about that? Just a wild, wild day in the NFL.
I'm still catching up on scores.
But while I was doing the pregame show, and then we usually throw it up to Bob and Carl in the booth around, I guess it was around 4 o'clock for the 4:25 start, give or take. So we got to watch a lot of the ends of the 1 o'clock games.
Okay.
Oh man, they were wild. The Colts game-winning field goal. Bengals-Ravens game-winning field goal, Houston-Bills game-winning field goal, all in the last 30 seconds of the game. 3 wild finishes. It was a great 1 o'clock slate.
I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm glad you mentioned the Bengals. They blew a very large lead to the Ravens, had to go to overtime.
Yeah.
And then lost.
Their defense is struggling.
Big time.
But their offense is very, very good.
So we're going to have a lot of chances to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals in this upcoming week.
Let's not do that yet.
I do wonder exactly where their mindset is at right now at 1-4.
Well, they're desperate, that's for sure. And
they
must-win
are.
Situation for
I'm
them.
glad the Giants don't have to go to Cincinnati.
That is true. But the Bengals offense, 5 touchdowns for Joe Burrow in that game. And Jamar Chase is pretty good, by the way. 190 receiving yards,
They
I
have
believe, on 10
talent,
catches.
those guys.
Yes, they're very good.
What's up, everybody? This is Peter Schrager from Good Morning Football and the season with Peter Schrager. And guess what? It's football season. And you can now get almost anything you need for game day delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, can't get a running back delivered, but you can get baby back ribs delivered. Strong defense? Like, no. But a strong deodorant? Yes. A 6-pack of abs? That's absolutely not. No. But a 6-pack of beer? Uber Eats can get you that. There you have it. Get almost anything for game day delivered with Uber Eats. It's the official on-demand delivery partner for the NFL. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See that app for details.
All right, 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. Giants Little Podcast, Rapid Reaction, Tumor Madeline, correct, Pearson? That's up there right now. I'm recording with Baldinger at 2:30 today. That'll go up tomorrow morning. Pearson's doing yeoman's work. You guys got off the plane at what, 2:30 a.m. yesterday?
2:45.
2:45. So everyone's a little bit tired, but we will get this content turned around for you. Let's lead off today again, folks. We'll still only have one line. I think we're getting close to getting our full complement back, but just one line today. We know it works. We don't want to mess around with anything. So we want to make sure we get as many of your calls as possible. Let's go rapid fire if we can. Let's start off with Greg in Atlanta. He's up first here. Greg, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing, Paul and John?
We're good.
Hi.
I'm calling, man, because I was trying. The last time I called, I had heavy criticism about Daniel Jones and how we were looking. But I just want to say now, I'm being honest, I am so happy. Even in our losses, we look good. We're fighting. It's coming down to the last quarter. The loss, I feel like the loss to the Vikings, 28-16, if I can remember. That wasn't too bad. I mean, it seemed bad because we were starting the season.
28-6. And Greg, it was bad. It was bad. Week one was bad.
I try to forget about that game because it was really that bad.
But Greg, at least it was a bad loss to a really good team. And the Vikings right now look like the best team in the conference. So
yeah, they do.
That's what I'm trying to lead to. And I feel like if we were to meet them again in the playoffs, the outcome won't be the same. But just to keep it going.
You are jumping a little ahead, aren't you? Just a little bit?
Let's get to the playoffs, Greg. 2 and 3.
No, I just said if. It's just an if. Just an if. I'm not projecting that for the playoffs.
Yeah,
I just like the attitude of the team now. Like when we as fans, when we cut the game on, we just want to see a fight. Even in a loss, we want to see a fight. And in the last couple of years, it seemed like it seemed like the Giants haven't been fighting. Now it seems like we're fighting. We're coming together and we're fighting, and I can't speak enough about the offensive line. I can't speak enough about getting punched in the mouth first, like the Cleveland game and the Seattle game, and still coming out winning. We look like a different team, and I'm so happy. I'll let the other players, people call in. I just wanted to tell a guy.
Thank you, Greg.
We're turning the page.
Appreciate it,
Greg,
my friend.
I love 95% of what you said.
But now he's going to kill you for the 5%.
Yeah, that 5%.
What did
you
he say?
Said now we're fighting. They fought last year for Coach Brian Dable.
They were just
all
undermanned.
the way to the end.
They were just undermanned. And they fought 2 years ago, too, by the way, when they made the playoffs, obviously.
Well, that goes without saying.
Yes.
But last year, don't let the record fool you. When you look in the almanac or on the computer screen, it says, Giants had a really bad record and they picked in the top 10 again. Don't let that fool you.
It was ugly football. It was bad football, but they tried. They worked their butts off and they tried really hard.
Without a doubt. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about this. Here, y'all go to third year with Brian Dable, and I've never seen this team break on him.
Yes, and I shouldn't say it was bad football because that indicates they weren't playing the right way. They were just very outmanned.
Poor quality.
Yeah, right. They were outmanned because of a lot of the injuries. So, yeah, and look, I'm just looking at this real quick here, Paul.
Yeah.
Top of your head. Don't look at my web screen.
Mm-hmm.
How many NFC teams have fewer than 2 losses right now?
Fewer than 2?
Fewer than 2.
3?
That's it. Name those teams.
Well, the one team in our division. We've already talked about them.
And we talked about another team,
and
obviously.
The Vikings are the other one.
Yep, and then there's one other team.
And I want to say
they had a bye week this week.
You know what? I'm a little foggy yet.
Detroit Lions. They're 3-1, and they have the Cowboys next week. So
quizzing Paul after 4 hours of sleep is
Paul, you think Paul needs sleep? Come on now.
Fellas, I confess to our audience as well. It wasn't that long ago I could go 3 days in a row without any sleep. I could do it. And I had done it many times. But now I'm getting a little older, and it's a little harder to do.
Also not healthy.
But during the season, that's kind of what happens to me sometimes.
I understand. Coach Marvin is in Delaware. He's up next. Hi, Coach.
How you guys doing?
We're
Coach,
great.
Hey, Coach, I want to apologize to you. Last week when you were on, you presented a hypothetical that one of the writers had come up with, and you were trying to build a point off of the hypothetical, and I might have been a little short with you, and the reason was because I don't like to talk about hypotheticals that are published elsewhere that we know not to be true. Right. And if you took any offense, I really do mean this. I apologize because
I don't even want to know.
No, you don't.
Don't even want to know.
But to even discuss those gives a measure of some credit, and I don't like to give any airtime to stuff that we know is totally a farce and basically comic book material. So I apologize.
All right, now I kind of want to know.
It's okay, Paul. It's just conversation, and I agree. I'm not that type of person working where I used to work at, and that's one thing I don't like is these people coming up with these crazy stories. But that was a story that it was hypothetical. I used the word if that was true.
I know you did. I know you did. I just didn't want to use any airtime on it. That's all.
Yeah, and now that question was answered this weekend. Hyatt, he's not aggressive. I don't know if he's thinking too much when he's running his routes or something. I'm not sure, but he had his chance this weekend, and they were outstanding yesterday. I had to take a second look and say, who's in this uniform? Who are the people in this uniform? They competed, and I always believe there's 3 steps to winning. And the first step is your team have to compete. And in the last, 4 games, I guess, they've been competing. And that's all you can ask your team to do. I mean, when you're competing, you got 2 teams competing, somebody's got to lose. And it's going to come down to a mistake somewhere. And this was one of those games where, they both was playing pretty good, and it was coming down to a mistake, and they both were competing. But the Giants out-competed them. But my hat's off to the offensive line. I think that's where the leadership is coming from. It should come from because the offensive line was just outstanding.
Only a 25% pressure rate allowed in this game, which was top 10 in the league in Week 5, Marvin. And again, in the run game, you saw the room they created for Tracy. Just a really, really nice job.
And if I can throw out a bouquet to JMS because I thought it was the best game he's played.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. You saw him get in front of that one screen in the first quarter? Woo! Wow.
The screen plays were beautiful this weekend, and they were really not a screen team. The Giants haven't been a screen team. But this team has done well with the screen game, and that's very good. That's tribute to the offensive line, and Dabo, you got to give him credit. We were talking about the running
Carmen
back.
Brasillo, too. Throw that out there.
I get the whole staff. They did an excellent job this week. Going out west to play and play in that particular stadium, and you don't have your best receiver, and you come out with a game performance like that. It's just an all-out team effort. But real quick, I know a lot of people are going to be on, but Tracy, I'm sold on him. I've been sold on him in the summer, and I'm sold on him now.
He's good.
The vision this guy has. Paul was right on everything about him you were saying about Tracy. 100%. 100%.
Thank you, Coach.
His vision was beautiful in this particular game. And one thing people don't notice, but I'm picky with this when it comes to running backs. You have to protect the ball. If you go back and look at the film, it should be natural. We had drills to make it natural. He would change hands in the midst of a crowd to the hand that is out, the ball to the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Singletary, if you look at Singletary, he never changes hands. He's always got the ball in his right hand. And if you look at his fumbles, they've been punched out in his right hand.
That is true.
You can get it punched out on the outside arm but it's a little harder to do it than when it's on the inside and the defender's coming from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at Tracy, it's natural. It's ball carrying when he exchanges hands. You can go back and look at those highlights. Just watch his hands, how he exchanged the ball from one hand to the other. In the crowd, he will do it. And it's just natural.
Thank you, Coach.
So, great game, guys. Yeah, I'll talk to y'all next time.
Appreciate it. And look, I think in terms of the ball control, I wonder if in some ways getting that wake-up call last week on the fumbled kickoff might have, reminded him, protect the ball, because I'm sure the coaches were all over him about that. It didn't end up hurting the team because the ball flew right into somebody's hands. I forget who ended up flying to. But sometimes you need a wake-up call and reminder about that stuff, and maybe he got that last week because there weren't – a couple times guys were punching at the ball too, and he showed no signs of letting that thing go.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And credit to this whole coaching staff, but we haven't even mentioned Coach Gabriel yet, the special teams coordinator, who we know from all the guys who were involved in the blocked field goal, that was something he came up with through his film study, saw a potential weakness in Seattle's front.
Yep.
And then designed the thing where Isaiah Simmons, okay, Isaiah, come on, why don't we try this? And, they did it at Friday's practice, and look what happened.
And I brought this up on the post game, thanks to Fooch over at MSG for reminding me. Remember who he was the special teams coach for last year?
Jets, and they pulled it against the Giants.
When they blocked Gano's kick.
Correct. Oh, I thought of that right away.
Yeah.
Immediately. I was like, oh, my goodness. He pulled that sucker out of the files.
Yeah, and much like the Giants guys last year, they kind of go really low in those field goal block situations to cut to prevent the guys from jumping.
Mm-hmm.
And you see Dex and Nacho put their hands down on top of the two interior blockers.
That's it.
And then Simmons goes whoop, right over. Because remember, folks, if you touch the offensive lineman there, even if you just graze them with your foot.
Penalty.
That's a penalty. That's leverage, I believe, technically is the call, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to count. And then all of a sudden you put the Seahawks, you give an automatic first down. And heck, they might even try to score. They might even be able to score a touchdown there. It's not even a tie game going into overtime. So there is some risk there. Gobrier also convinced Brian Dable, who, not surprisingly, wanted to use that a little bit earlier in the game to try to create a play. But they held back on it, and they ended up using it at the most opportune possible time.
I really wish they hadn't had to use the play. The game should have been over a lot earlier than that.
That's one of those plays you might not be able to use against another team anyway, so I'm happy that they were able to bring it out and get a score out of it.
Yes.
So very, very, very good play there. Darren in North Carolina, he's up next on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hey, Darren, how are you?
Good afternoon, guys. John Paul. I am so happy as a Giants fan from 1985 to present. Offense, defense, special teams. Come on. Our rookies showed up. Tyrone Tracy over 100 yards rushing. Oh, my Lord. I'm just so happy, guys. And I was telling my wife when they were trying to when they were trying to get the field goal to tie the game, I said, we need a block. As soon as I said it, here comes Simmons, jumped over the line, blocked it, and right for a week and scooped the ball and ran into the end zone. I'm so happy as a Giants fan. And I just love how Tyrone Tracy, how he runs. He's not one of those runners that dancing in the hole doing the tango. He's one of those north and south runners.
One cut and go, bro. One cut and go.
Hard.
Yeah.
And
he attacks.
That's that Giants ground and pound. That's what I'm talking about. And that's going to open up the passing game, the running hard, and it's going to open up the play action. Then soon you know it, somebody's going to be open, and then you can let it fly. That's all I wanted to say, guys. Just have a good day.
No problem. Good call. And look, let me add this too. For once, the Giants took advantage of another team's mistake. Because on the third down play before the blocked field goal, if me and you were grading that for Giants players, that's a drop on Jackson Smith and Jigba. Hit him right in the hands. Right in the hands. That should have been a first down conversion. But you know what? When the other team makes a mistake, you have to be good enough to take advantage of it. And the Giants were able to do that.
Well, Phillips had the coverage, and it actually wasn't bad.
No, it was just a great throw.
It's a crossing route, and Smith put the ball right on a dime.
It was similar to where Eli, why the second time I've done that this week. I did that on Saturday when I was on Marash on Big
That's
Blue
all right.
Kickoff
He's
Live.
having lunch in the lunchroom right now.
Similar to the pass that Daniel made to Wandell on the first touchdown on when he threw it really at a tough angle all the way across the field to hit him on that out. Very similar type of play, except Wandell held on to that one. He didn't hold on to the other one on the little out to the left-hand side.
I know.
But, again, it was a good throw by Geno, and Smith and Jigba just couldn't hold on to it.
And in all honesty, right, now, even in this win, and even go back to the Cleveland win, there were things that needed to be cleaned up. No game is ever perfect for anybody, really, okay? There's stuff there that the coaches are still going to be able to go back to and say, hey, you know what? We still had a couple of penalties that we're probably not happy about. We still had, 4 drop passes that we really did not need to do.
Well, you mentioned penalties, by the way. Let's give them credit, too, for not one procedural penalty in that noise.
Right. What did we talk about when I was on the bus last night on the postgame show? Giants, 0 false starts. Seattle, 3.
I know. It's amazing.
That does not happen in that building.
No, it does not. The Giants commit false starts in their own building.
This is true sometimes.
Sadly, yes.
So, I think it's important that the coaching staff, and they know how to handle this, they're going to want to say to their guys, this was really great and it's a win, but hey, we have to do better and we need to do better. And I think that these guys will get it, will understand. I don't think, as thrilled as they were yesterday, I don't think they're going to rest on this. I think they're going to bust their butts, and they're going to try to take on a Bengals team next weekend that's obviously going to be very, very desperate. The Giants will have to be. You used the word before. They were pretty clean. They were pretty clean. But they might have to be even cleaner to beat Cincinnati.
Speaking of not perfect, do you know where I can address my thank you card for them only deciding to run with Kenneth Walker III 5 times in the game?
Well, as a matter of fact, you guys remember Softy Mailer from KJR Radio in Seattle.
Because, by the way, I went back and looked at the tape. The Giants had 2 safeties deep the whole game. Like, they were at 2 safety shells. I have no idea why Seattle did not try to run the ball more.
Softy, who loves to bust horns, right? We texted each other after the game. And he said the Seattle callers in Seattle were crushing their play selection for not getting Walker more involved.
I was talking to CS, I'm like, thank goodness they're not giving the ball to Walker. It's not like, look, the Giants shut him down on the first run, but after that, I think he had like 4 carries for 20 yards. Like, it was fine. They weren't shutting the run down. They just chose not to run it. Thank you. Appreciate that, guys.
I think philosophically speaking, they probably looked at the Giants secondary and said, hey, Adoree Jackson's been gimpy. Phillips been gimpy.
And they had some open players. It's not like guys weren't open.
Tay Banks was coming off a game where, he had some questionable plays.
But you have an offensive line that struggled pass blocking against that pass rush.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I was happy that Walker wasn't featured more as well, although Softy did come back to me and he said, well, I could understand maybe one part of the logic, and that is that right now is not a very powerful and strong offensive line. And if you don't have the kind of strength to hold up in the run game, Walker's going to get hit behind the line.
Yeah, but then run some pitch plays, run some outside runs, something. Like, sheesh, whatever. I'll take it. Thanks, guys.
It is what it is, Seattle.
I think isn't that what Fraser Crane used to say at the end of one of his shows or something like that on Fraser? No. Let's go to Wilson in Roxbury. Wilson, you're up next, pal.
Hey, Johnny, Paulie.
Hi.
Hey, listen.
Wilson, he went for it on 4th and 1 at the goal line, man. I was thinking about you, bro.
Johnny, let me tell you something. Today, it's a game of just to be happy. It's because you know this. Paulie knows this. Paulie, you know this. And Johnny, 9 out of 10 times, Giants fans like myself, we've seen this movie, and it would have been the loss.
Yeah.
And, it would have been the loss. And maybe, the laws of averages eventually have to change, and maybe it's changing. So I'm happy for Daniel. I'm happy for Brian Dable. I've been rough for Brian Dable, but hey, listen, I got to say it like I see it. The team was prepared to play. He called a great game. Seattle and Seattle didn't. They thought they were going to show up, and they were going to win the game, and they got a rude awakening.
Yeah, Wilson. I also sense too, probably a little bit. This was as quintessential of a trap game for the Seahawks as you could ever imagine. Monday night against a great team in the Lions, short week, and then they play Thursday night against San Francisco. So
Right.
they play, I guess that's in 10 days, 3 games, and the Giants
Right.
are the least, you would think they're the least challenging based on the Niners and the Lions being between them. So, look, the Giants took advantage of that, though, because the Seahawks did wake up in the second half of that game a little bit. They played better, and the Giants should have had a bigger lead in the first half. They didn't, but the Giants took advantage of it.
The game should have been right. It should have been 10-10, and then it should not have been what was it, 23-13. When they stopped them on fourth down, that was the game. I said, if they score a touchdown, the game is over. Unfortunately, but listen,
Sure.
whatever. They found a way, and sometimes you need that win, to like jumpstart the season. You never know. It's only one game, but I'm happy for everybody. And another thing, though, on this running back, Tracy. Listen, I know you don't lose your job to injury. I know that, and I know it's just one game. But this kid, he's got that it factor. He's got like that third gear, that I haven't seen that. I think it's got a third gear even more impressive than Saquon Barkley at his prime. Because Saquon,
No, don't go there, Wilson. Please don't. Please don't.
No, Paulie, I'm not comparing. I'm just saying that
it's a little
Saquon
much.
used to do a lot. Saquon used to go like a lot side to side, and and sometimes he will get like a 70-yard run, and then he will lose. But this kid just hits the hole and boom, goes.
Tracy did look more decisive.
Thank you, Wilson. Appreciate the call.
I'll give him that. Tracy looked more decisive, especially for coming fresh out of the box.
And he runs with power, too. Like, you saw it a couple of those plays. He will lower his shoulder and run into guys. Like, he'll do it.
I do want to mention also, in my interview with Tracy after the game, he was very, very, very specific, and not just mentioning the offensive line and what they did for him yesterday, but he said that Devin Singletary really coached him up.
Oh,
during
did
the
he?
week. He did.
Nice.
And that's part of the reason why this coaching staff, not only that, but also Joe Shane, wanted Singletary here. They're big on this guy's professionalism, and Singletary was helping to mentor Tracy during the course of the week. He said he couldn't thank him enough, and also mentioned Daniel Jones, who did a lot to help him too.
Now, I think there's a chance what the Giants did this offseason, specifically, you know what, I guess I'll include the draft. It has a chance. I don't want to get a lot of hyperbole here, but if it continues to go the way it's going, this offseason's moves could have a chance to really, I'll choose my words carefully, move the needle in a positive direction.
How about just say productive
for the organization? I want to be stronger than productive.
Okay,
because
highly productive.
This offseason. I was going to use a word like that. No, I'm not even going to say it because I don't want to jinx anything.
Impactful?
It was going to be over the top.
Oh, for you that would definitely be a stretch.
I was going to go in the Paul Dottino land.
Whoa!
But think about it. Their big goal this offseason, I wrote this for Cover 3 for the website. Not sure if it's up yet. Their big goal this offseason in free agency, pretty clear. Improve in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
They lead the league in sacks. Check. Get the offensive line fixed on the offensive side of the ball, trenches. So far, do they have a top 10 offensive line in the league? No. But are they right there in the middle of the pack? Absolutely are. All right?
Love an Illuminor.
Check. You want to talk about a veteran presence? Paul mentioned Devin Singletary. Pearson, absolutely right. What kind of veteran presence has Jermaine Illuminor been as a leader on that offensive line, especially being familiar with Carmen Barcelo, understanding what he wants? Huge addition. So you get those groups of guys, throw Runyon in there and Van Roten. 3 out of the 5 offensive line starters signed this offseason of free agency. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Then you throw the draft in. You have your number one weapon at wide receiver. You've seen what Tyrone Tracy can do at running back. You have your starting tight end. You have a starting safety. You have your starting slot corner. I mean, this, if it continues to go the way it's going, and you walk out of this offseason adding, and I'm just doing the math, folks, adding 10 starters in one offseason, that's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Now, some of these guys are veterans, are on short deals. I don't know how long they're going to be here. Fine. 10 starters, one offseason in the first year, that's very, very good.
we have gone the whole show without even mentioning that Tyler Nubin led the team with 9 tackles.
And by the way,
a fumble recovery.
On the Brian Burns sack, his discipline covering Kenneth Walker, Pearson pointed out to me earlier, in the slot, in the flat, is one of the reasons, because Gino could just flip that ball out there.
Oh, no doubt.
And Burns wouldn't get home in time.
Burns was shot out of a cannon now. He got a good jump.
He split a double team.
Yeah.
And I think they thought that he was going to fall for the play action and not shoot upfield as fast as he did. Well, he did not.
Did you notice, too?
And he said in the postgame, too, he's like, no, guys, when I saw the way they were lined up, he called it, I think, Trump or something like that, the way they were lined up on top of him, something like that. Not the politician, relax. That he was just going to shoot upfield and get after the quarterback. So, and he did it, and he made a big play. That's why they went and they traded for him and paid him all that money, by the way, plays like that.
Positional snap count. Burns seemed to be on the left side of the Giants' edge a ton more than he had in previous games. I wonder if you could get a look at that because
I think he was lined up over Forsyth probably 80% of the time.
And,
I agree with you.
And we discussed during the radio pregame show that was the weakness of the Seattle offensive line, especially in pass protection.
Yep.
So another case of the Giants coaching staff saying, what can we do to take advantage of the bruises or the Achilles on that Seattle lineup?
And by the way, given he was against a better tackle, I thought Kayvon Thibodeau had a pretty good day too.
He did.
To be honest with you,
he did.
He had,
I thought
Tibbs
played
the
well.
half sack, right? I think he got credit for a half sack in the game.
I think they gave him credit for the half.
I hope
which
so.
Means
he should have.
3 weeks in a row now, he's had at least part of a sack. Third time in his career,
and I believe he had 5 or 6 overall pressures too. Oh wow, it was worse than I thought, Paul. 51 snaps, 50 on the left side, 1 on the right side.
Folks,
I thought it was like 80-20. That's all.
I was going to say I thought it was more like 85.
It's football season, and you can now get almost anything you need for game day delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a running back delivered, but you can get baby back ribs delivered. A strong defense? That's a no. But strong deodorant? That's a yes. A 6-pack of abs? Definitely no. But a 6-pack of beer? Uber Eats can get you that. There you have it. Get almost anything for game day delivered with Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
Yeah, whatever. But
it's ridiculous.
You never, like in other games this year, just to give you an example, like he lines up mostly on the left side. That's his primary position. But week 1, 21 snaps on the right side. Week 2, 16. Week 3, 20. Week 4, 13. So he's always spent double-digit sacks on that side of the field. Not yesterday.
And then a lot of times in critical spots, he is going to be on the other side. But here's the thing, John. You know, you think about this staff, right? You had the running back staff, and you had Brian Dable, who also, particularly, I understand, did a great job with Tracy during the course of the week, preparing him for this job. You had Gabriel coming up with the scheme on the blocked field goal. You had Bowen, who clearly decided that he wanted to make sure he was going to take advantage of the weakness on the Seattle offensive line. You had Patterson, the defensive line coach, who you just talked about. We're going to find a way to make sure Dexter gets some isolations.
No.
Think about the job that this coaching staff did top to bottom. I don't want to leave a bouquet out for them because up and down, they did as good a job as you could do to prepare this team to play above the X's and O's.
Let's go to Harold in San Diego. He's up next. Hey, Harold.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
We're great, man.
Well, I'm so happy, and I just want to say that I feel like Slayton is like the Rodney Dangerfield of this team. He's so underappreciated. They keep on saying, we got to go out and get a number 1 receiver. We got to go out and do. What about Slayton? I mean, he's led the team almost every year in those long catches and whatnot, and I'm really happy to see that he had one hell of a game. But that's my only comment.
No, Harold, great point. And look, the wide receiver core had to step up in the absence of Malik Neighbors, and Slayton did that. Now, I'm sure he was annoyed about that drop he had in the first half on the sideline, on that little short pass into the flat. Whatever, not a big deal. It wasn't a killer. But overall, he created separation. He put Trey Brown into a spin cycle a number of times. He murdered that kid to the point that they had to take him off the field.
Again, coaching. They knew where to go.
Yeah, and whoever Brown was on, they were going to target that player.
They had to put Pritchett on Slayton later in the game.
Yeah, Brown. I think they took Brown off the field. To be honest
was
with you.
getting fried.
He was, absolutely. I mean, they have 2 really good outside corners, Devin Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen. I think they targeted Witherspoon once. I don't remember them targeting Woolen. So they were very particular in who they attacked in that secondary.
Woolen got nicked for a bit and had to come out.
He was in and out of the game twice, I think, actually, during the game. But they were able, they were very specific in who they were trying to target back in the secondary.
Again, that's good. That's good coaching. And by the way, I thought, did you see it the same way? Looked like twice, I think it was Pritchett, got a hand of jersey on that last Giants possession before Seattle went on the final drive. There were 2 tugs at a jersey, and Dable wanted a call as well, and they didn't get it.
On away from the ball or on targets?
No, it was on. Let me pull it up. It was the fourth quarter, and we're talking about. It was just about 2 minutes left. It's a 3rd and 6 from the Giants at their own 14. And Slayton's going to run a curl on the right side, and Pritchett's on him. And the pass is incomplete. He really never got a hand on it. And Pritchett, twice, he did the veteran thing. What veterans do, and Sam Madison taught me this many years ago, and Everson Walls used to do it sometimes too, pick at the jersey like this, real quick. You do like a quick grab. He did it twice, once with one hand, once with the other hand. Ball comes over. Slayton can't make the play on it. It wasn't a drop. Can't make the play on it. It would have been a first down. Giants could run out the clock. The game is over.
There was pressure on that play, too, which is one of the reasons it was incomplete. They got pressure on Jones.
Dable immediately on the sidelines went nuts after the ref, asking for a flag, and I thought that easily could have been and should have been a flag.
I didn't notice that on the All-22, to be honest with you. I didn't.
Okay.
201-939-4513. Let's go to Steven Stein now, and I'll take a look at that play. Steve, what's going on?
Hey, how are you, Paul? How are you, John?
We're great.
How you guys doing today?
We're great. How are you?
Great. Very happy with this win. And, Paul, you just kind of touched on it a little bit, too, when you were talking about that play that Dable was screaming for a flag. I got to be honest with you, and I'll lead into why I'm saying this. I can't thank D.O. Johnson enough for having a very good game as well, too. And I'm kind of hoping in situations like that, we could get to see more of what this kid can do. I mean, this was a great pickup by the Giants, man. I was so happy when they drafted this kid, and I've been high on this kid since they drafted him. And my question is, do you guys see him being utilized more, seeing as how productive he was every time his number's been called? And the next question I have is on the defensive side. I love the way that Shane, and Paul, look, you might remember I called screaming after week 1. I was like, here it goes, sky is falling, doom and gloom. But that's in the rearview mirror now. All right, and that's what Giant fans do because, we love our team.
Of course.
But, I have to admit, I have to say I was I wasn't happy when they signed Bowen, but I got to be honest with you, up to this point, I think the guys finally figured out, hey, this isn't Tennessee, this is New York. This is defense started here in this city. So I'm really glad to see that he's actually being not wink aggressive, but aggressive at the right times during the right plays where you need to be aggressive. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking my call. You guys are great. Go Big Blue.
Thank you, Steven. They didn't blitz a ton this week. They were I think, 21% blitz rate, which was not high.
Did not have
But in
to.
the first half, though, they had a couple of double corner blitzes early in this game that helped get Seattle off the field. I like those couple calls from Bowen. We mentioned the call late where he sent some pressure, got Dexter the one-on-one on Haynes. So he was selective. I thought when he used it, it was effective. But I think he understood you're against a guy like Geno Smith, who's now a very smart veteran quarterback, with those wide receivers, Paul, you cannot leave guys one-on-one in coverage down the field and risk blitzing. The same way you couldn't do it against Dak Prescott last week. So, again, I think Shane Bowen was prudent in how he used his pressures. When he used them, I thought they were pretty creative, too, with a lot, again, a couple of those double safety corner blitzes, things like that. They were effective.
Yeah, he started to get a little more brazen after the score was 7-7 in the second quarter. And I think that they had great respect for Geno because now it's been over 2 years where he has been as accurate as can be.
No, he's a good player.
Remember, coming into this game, he was number 1 in the league in attempts, completions, and completion percentage.
Second in completion percentage.
Was it second?
Yeah, second. I think Jaden Daniels is 1.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Point being, this Geno Smith has been incredibly efficient now for quite a long period of time. It's not a fluke anymore. He's a different guy. We talked about that during the pregame show, too. And so Bowen was not just going to throw caution to the wind. He was respecting that quarterback. And that's why he put, again, more of the emphasis, as he wants to in his initial planning, on the front.
Yep.
And that's why Coach Patterson and those guys had to make sure they got it done.
Now, Paul, I don't see a clear hold here on Slayton, but I will say this. They're pretty fortunate that they didn't call Wan'Dale Robinson for offensive pass interference.
Oh, really?
Watch. It's right
Okay,
here. Take a
okay.
look at the play. Look at Wan'Dale Robinson set this screen. Not even pretending to run a route. He just literally puts his arms out and runs into the cornerback to clear him out of the area for Slayton. So
he put him on his back is what he did.
Well, yeah, but you're not allowed to do that when you're throwing a pass.
No, you're not. Oh, boy.
So, I thought Dable was yelling.
Let's say no foul. We'll just give it.
Until you brought it up, I forgot about it. Dable was yelling. I thought he was yelling for the hold on Robinson, and then I looked at the replay. I'm like, no. That was Wan'Dale Robinson. And in the NBA, that's a moving screen, by the way.
Yes.
That's not even a legal pick in the NBA. That is a moving screen on Wan'Dale Robinson.
Can you do that when the ball's in the air, or does the receiver have to have it before you can block as a receiver?
Once the receiver has the ball, then you can block.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you have to have possession.
You cannot do it while the quarterback has the ball or while the ball is in the
Correct.
air. That is correct.
Correct.
Len in Columbia, Maryland. Len, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, man, that must have been a nice plane ride home last night.
Paul was flying, man. Look, I'm fortunate now. I'm doing the post-game show on the radio, so I actually got a decent night's sleep, though I was up late watching the end of that Cowboy game. But, Paul, you can speak to it better than me.
I rewatched the entire game on the plane and then watched the fourth quarter of the Cowboys game.
What did they replay the game on the plane on?
I had it on my NFL Plus.
Oh, wow. You can stream on the plane, huh? The internet was fast enough, huh?
It's very, very, very useful.
That's pretty
Trust
good.
me, very useful. And Len, to be honest, okay, to be honest, and I was looking forward to your call today because I wanted to know from your aged perspective, because you're like one of the old timers like me, right? What I wanted to know from your aged perspective, how much you appreciated not just the fact that the Giants had won the game, but the tenor and the type of temperature that you saw from these guys. Didn't they look like they were pros who knew what they were doing? They weren't overly excited. They weren't boisterous. They weren't showboating. This team was very methodical. They had composure. And I really loved seeing that because in spite of some of the things that went wrong and how the game got close on the scoreboard, I never thought that this team had lost any composure or had broken a sweat.
One word: prepared.
Yes, there you go. There you go. Prepared.
They were prepared. They looked confident. They looked comfortable. They looked like they knew what they were doing, and they just went out and did it. I mean, they just went out and did it. I mean, it was a nice win. A nice win. Let me add something to what Coach Marvin says. I always listen closely when he calls in, if I'm lucky enough to hear his call, because he has a different view on things than most people who are calling in, including myself. With regard to ball security, wrist above elbow, even when you're in the open field, I think is more important than switching hands. If you got your wrist, if you're holding the ball wrist above elbow, you can't hold it away from your body. It's just automatic. It comes closer.
No, you're right about that.
Then you get into the high and tight. And but I always thought wrist above elbow when you're carrying it, even when you're in the open field. Tracy, nice game by Tracy. A little different view on my part. I don't know if he's got a second gear or the speed just builds up. He's a pretty fast guy. He gets to top speed.
Yeah, his play speed is really impressive, Lane, because I think John, check on this, the combine, he was what, a 4?
He was 4.4 something.
I was going to say
4.43, 4.44 maybe.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good time, but his play speed is what, when John and I saw him at training camp, it just stuck out.
4.48.
This guy's play speed holds. He doesn't lose much when he's got the equipment on.
6.813 cone, by the way, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. He ran with confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid looked like he knew what he was going to do. I mean, he really ran with confidence. Hey, John, I think I mentioned to you last week, it's always one game at a time. But I think I mentioned the importance, what I thought, of the next 3 games before the Seattle game. I was cautiously optimistic, even at 1-3. I was kind of hanging in there with the season. I thought things would get a little better, but I thought the run of Seattle, Cincinnati, and Philly, especially the Philadelphia game at home, the division game, I thought if we could come out of there, if we could come out of there even at 3-4 with 10 to go, that we had a really good shot at this thing. I mean, we could put on a push, but we got to win this. We got to win the division game, guys.
Yeah, that's a problem.
We got to win that. I mean, we got to win that. We got to win that Philly game. All right, listen. Hey, nice win.
In fact, Len, even worse, you don't like the fact that their only 2 wins are in their only 2 AFC games. They're 0-3 in the conference right now, which is not
okay. We really had to take this in the other direction. We had to turn around what was a gloriously sunny day and put a couple of rain clouds on it. Really?
No rain clouds from yesterday. It's just looking at the season as a whole, Paul. Come on.
Well, John, we did get one. We did get one conference win. I mean, we did win the Seattle game.
Yes, a good point. Yes, that's correct. Yes.
All right, let me say one more thing. Putting Theo Johnson aside for just a second, and he had a nice game yesterday. Yeah, I think you guys are going to feel the same way about this. You can't win in this league. I mean, you can win a game. You can go 4-13, but I think the tight end position is so underestimated by people. You have got to have a tight end game. It doesn't have to dominate, but it just has to be consistent from week to week. I mean, 5 catches out of the tight end position. When was the last time we had that? I think that contributed greatly to that win yesterday. They were quiet plays, but I tell you, you're moving the ball forward.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that the play selection was very, very good. It made a lot of sense. The balance. Daniel Jones had 34 pass attempts. I know he was sacked 3 times, but 34 pass attempts, and the Giants as a team ran 34 times. How about that, Len? When's the last time you can recall those numbers?
I know. How about that? Yeah, that's pretty good. Hey, nice one. I mean, what else can you say? You want to finish on a high note. Yeah, one more thing, if I've got another 30 seconds
here. 30 seconds.
Dexter had a great game, but he's just better than the Seattle guy on the other side of the line yesterday. I mean, the best players in the league make hay against guys that they're better than.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's going to even out later on. But I mean,
no, but Len, the good news is that Dexter's better than most guys he's going to line up against during the course of the year.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it often, but on defense, Dexter Lawrence is a headache player.
Oh, my gosh.
We don't talk about that often enough because we're always talking about who do the Giants have as headache players on offense. But it goes without saying, on defense, Dexter Lawrence is a major league. In fact, he's a migraine.
Oh, he's the first guy that you circle and you put the red star on after the opposing offensive coordinator says this is the guy that we can't let destroy the game for us.
He is a headache player. And Brian Burns, by the way, I'm not telling you anything you don't know because he's been listed on the injury report and he's been limited. He's a bit banged up. He's a bit gimpy. And
what did he have? Was he the heel? What was he? No, heel was somebody else.
I thought he had groin.
Oh, he was groin, yes. Who had the heel injury? Was that Wan'Dale?
That was Wan'Dale Robinson.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, and what did Brian Burns, now you gave me his snap count yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And
he had 6 pressures in the game.
Yeah, mm-hmm. and not just the 6 pressures, but also tackle for a loss, had the quarterback hit, 2 passes defensed, only had a total of 2 tackles. But, he did have, as you mentioned, a big play. He was out there. He was not invisible. And he's fighting through some soreness there. And I give him a lot of credit.
Ball, final thoughts before we say goodbye? What do you got?
Teams coming in later today. Injured players, obviously, for treatments this morning and so forth. I just think that this was a very impressive victory for the Giants. Did remind me in a lot of ways of 2022. And the only thing I can say to those fellas is, great job. and see what you can do now to make some business against the Bengals, because you'd hate to have this feel-good feeling go away and deflate like a balloon if you go flat against Cincinnati.
Brian Burns right now with, this is PFF's tracking, 20 total pressures. That ties him for 22nd in the league right now in terms of total pressures this year.
Yeah, I don't think his overall production is exactly where you'd like it to be. You want it to be higher. You want it to be more impactful. But again, these last 2 games, he's playing gimpy. He's having some issues, but he's fighting through.
Yeah, and he's done a nice job. He has. All right, everybody, thanks for joining us on Big Blue Kickoff Live on this Monday. I'll be back tomorrow with SciTac. We'll have Cross and Madeline on Wednesday. Still figuring out who'll be with me on Thursday, and then Paul and Matt will be with you on Friday. How about that? I actually know the schedule, Pearson. That's a miracle in itself. It's a good week. For Pearson, Butler, and Paul Dottino, I am John Schmeelk. Thanks for being with us today, everybody. Great job on the phones, and we'll see you tomorrow at 12:30 for another episode of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants.
You go into your shower feeling, but as soon as you reach for the Irish Spring, your day immediately gets better. That crisp, fresh, unmistakable Irish Spring scent zings your brain and awakens your senses. So when you finally emerge from the shower, 37 minutes later, because you pay the water bill so you can stay in there as long as you want, you're ready to take on the day and smell great doing it. Irish Spring Body Wash and Bar Soap. Fresh, green, Irish. Shop now at Walmart.
What's good? Justin Jefferson here.
Football is a lot of explosion, a lot of energy and attitude.
With these open earbuds
to have good sound and to be so light on your ear, it's like a dream.
For more, check out Bose.com.